So today we'll be talking about एकदम bare minimum basic tips that I feel anyone who wants to get started with their financial journey can follow. And these tips aren't like super number and anything financial like एकदम academic or nothing textbook. This is like bare minimum basic things that you can do if you want to start your financial journey. Another thing is कि most of the time whenever we'll be discussing any pointers, so I'll be talking from a point of view of long-term investing because I feel that is the most suitable and desired investing technique that we can follow, because the most suitable time frame to hold a stock is forever. So yeah, keeping in mind everything about long-term investing, today we'll be starting few points that will be important for you as a beginner to start investing. First point that I feel is very important is you should be very specific and extremely clear with why are you starting investing. Like, why do you want to invest certain amount of money? So basically you have to be extremely specific about the purpose of your investment. Let's say कि I want to buy a car like maybe 5 years down the line, and for example if the car costs me 10 lakh, so that is my financial goal, like that is my financial objective for which I'll be investing maybe some X amount of money for a particular duration of time. So hence it is always said कि whenever you start investing, be extremely specific. For example, maybe if your dad is trying to start the journey, so he can maybe ठीक है कि the funds that I'm investing, it is for retirement. So that is how he can plan the whole portfolio basically. Another point that we'll be jumping onto is, let's say for example my age is 25. I'm not 25, but let's assume my age is 25. So it is said that whatever your age is, subtract that amount from 100 and basically whatever remains, that proportion of your money should be invested in liquid equity funds. Let's say my age is 25. So technically I'll be investing 75% of my total funds that I'm trying to allocate for investment into the equity, because the reason why it is said is the younger you are prone to have more risk appetite according to your age. So basically my 75% of the funds will be in equity because obviously like it's high risk high return thing. Now that we have figured out how much funds we have to allocate, now we'll be talking where do we allocate the fund. So we have two major options. One is through mutual funds and another is through equities. Equities is basically anything we purchase as a stock of any given company, that is the equities. And mutual fund is basically a collection of certain number of stocks through which you have an exposure at a very minimal amount. Let's say for example there's a mutual fund of Nifty 50, which is the main index. So I'll be having exposure of Nifty 50, all the 50 stocks, just via an SIP of maybe 1000 or 1500 or 2000, whatever the minimum SIP amount is. So that is how I can have the whole index with a very minimal amount. Even in the mutual funds you can invest through either lump sum or SIP. Lump sum is maybe you get a whole chunk of amount and invest it directly at one spot of time, that is lump sum. And another is basically SIP, systematic investment plan. Through SIP what you can do is you can have a smaller chunk of investment. Maybe you can pick a date, for example let's say first of every month, and then you can invest a small amount of money every month. Let's say I'll be investing 2000 rupees, which is like bare minimum basic, every month on the first. So that is how I'll be able to time the market for a very long duration. So the reason why I personally feel SIP is much more better is because I'll be there present in the market for a very long time, and I'll be able to have an exposure of the market at each and every moment. So let's say for example first month of 2022 was bullish. Maybe let's say it was, for an example, it was at 17,000. Today it is at 16,200 or 16,000. So I'll be having an exposure at all the levels, and automatically if I believe my investment is for long term, so hence I'll be able to time the market at regular frequencies, and I'll be getting the opportunity to bank on those timings and making a good money in long term, basically. So basically mutual fund is a whole collection, and a fund manager is basically managing the money instead of you doing it yourself. It's basically all the headache जो भी है कि कौन सा स्टॉक ढूंढने का, कौन सा पोर्टफोलियो होना चाहिए, all of those things are handed over to the fund manager, and he's the one who is taking care of your mutual funds. Obviously we'll be talking about mutual funds specific as a topic in our next videos, so stay tuned for that. So the next point that we'll be talking about is, so whenever you start with your basic investment journey, try to always have your expectation managed by yourself. So expectation management is basically stop expecting the whole multi-bagger returns ki your stock is going like 10x 20x, because then you will be attracted towards low quality of stocks, because then you'll be expecting just to pick anything which has lower value but without any fundamental basis to that stock. The whole plan is you pick quality stocks which moves slower, but it will at least assure you to give you proper returns at least of 12 to 15% per annum. The whole plan is we have to keep you invested in the whole journey for a very long time. It's not कि आज मैंने पैसा डाला और 21 दिन में पैसा double and I'll just like bounce off कि like ठीक है I'm done with the market. The whole plan is कि we stay here for the longer duration. So time is the biggest antidote for volatility. So if you are here for a longer duration, you will eliminate most of the volatility. Like recently I have read this study which says कि after a point of time, when you are in the market for more than 5 to 6 years, your probability of loss goes down to 20%, and that 20% goes down to 0% of probability of loss if you are in the market for more than 12 years. So that is the whole game. So hence, if you are here for the longer duration, probability of losing your money literally equates to 0. So the whole point of expecting at least 12 to 15 return is so that we can at least beat the basic inflation rate which is going on year on year. So year on year, if the money is just in the savings account, it is degrading its value because the inflation, which is the silent killer, is eating up your money. Let's say ki 100 rupees last year won't be 100 rupees this year, because let's say ki for example last year you got a toothpaste for let's say 100 rupees. So I'm assuming that this year the inflation is 7.5%. So that 100 rupees toothpaste would be 107 rupees. But if your salary or your monthly income is literally same and it's not growing, so you need to realize that you need to grow your money, because if it doesn't, so your money is literally degrading its value. So hence year on year basic 12 to 15% of growth, so that your basic inflation 7% is equated, and hence we'll be left with good 5 to 6% growth on your funds year on year, which if we compound can give you extremely handsome returns after let's say 5 to 6 years, whatever your purpose or whatever your objective of investment, and for whatever duration you plan, that will be pretty much successful.